Is it possible to pray, really pray, without trying to get God to do something for you? Is it possible to enter prayer without a list, without pressure, without the ancient habit of pleading? Yes. Yes. It is not only possible, it is the only prayer that is ever heard. Now that sounds like a contradiction to everything we have been taught, and yet you and I know, if we are honest, that most of what we have called prayer has been refined getting, polite begging dressed in faith garments. Please give me. Please fix them. Please change this. Always please. Always getting. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. The human sense is born into need, believes in lack, fears loss, and so it prays as it shops. Comparison, selection, bargaining. That is not communion. That is commerce. And then we wonder why the wrinkles don't leave our foreheads, why the heart is still tight. We have made prayer an effort to move God, to persuade omnipresence to be more present, to convince love to be more loving. That cannot be done. It never has been done. God is not moved by our words, nor by our fervor, nor by the number of our hours. God is not reached by distance. God is realized as presence. Now let us for a minute accept that statement. If God is presence, here, now, the life of our life, what would we be doing in prayer? Not composing better sentences, not turning up the volume of our sincerity, not stretching time as if more minutes could create more of infinity. No, we would be yielding. Yielding what? Our attempt to manage God, our interior grasping, our determination to secure outcomes. We would relax the fist on the steering wheel of the universe and consent to the fact, I and the Father are one. Not will be, not hope to be. One. Already. Communion is that consent. Communion is the inner posture where we stop speaking at God and begin resting in God. We become still, not as a trick to get results, but as the recognition that presence is already the listener, the speaker, and the silence between. Do you see? The very presence you would address is the ear that hears within you. That is why communion is heard, because it is God hearing God. All that the Father hath is mine, already mine. Prayer, then, is not getting. Prayer is letting. Letting the reality that is be realized as the fabric of your awareness. All right, you may say, how do I do that? We will do it together. Before we are through, I will give you a 3-minute listening practice. Simple, quiet, right where you are. And I will show you what to do when the mind argues, because it will. We will not fight it. We will recognize it, release it, return to presence. For now, take this with you. The only prayer that heals, supplies, harmonizes, is the prayer that stops trying to move God and yields to God. Abide. Listen. Consent to presence, and you will discover that prayer has never been a transaction. It has always been communion. Now we must look very directly at the word that has sat at the front of our prayers all our lives. Please. Please give me money. Please heal this body. Please bring me the right person. Please keep my children safe. Please make this project succeed. Please advance my career. Please give me spiritual progress, more light, more gifts, more experiences. A sign. Ask, beg, plead, bargain, promise, fear, pressure, and call it prayer. We ask, And then we add a little pledge. I'll do better. I'll serve more. I'll stop that habit. We plead, and then we bargain. If you will, then I will. We promise, and then we pressure. Louder voice, longer time, sterner disciplines. And all of it, getting dressed up as devotion. Why do we do it? Scarcity. As if God were withholding and we must convince him. As if there were a gate somewhere between here and the infinite, and it is shut, and with the right phrases we might rattle it open. As if health is stored in a distant warehouse and we must place an order and shipping is delayed. As if love lives in a reluctant heart above and we must move it to pity. That is the engine in the word please. Fear of not enough. Fear of being left out. Fear that the universe is quota-based and we came late to the desk. Now a human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. Humanness is the trading mind. It wakes in the morning scanning. What can I get, earn, win, deserve? How can I secure myself, my family, my standing? We bring that same acquisitive current into religion, and we turn sanctuaries into markets. Competition for answers, competition for demonstrations, even competition for holiness. Better testimonies, bigger drives, greater organs, more impressive results. All competition, all based on getting. And we think God is pleased because the language is pious. No. The motive is what speaks. Getting cannot be communion. All right, let us be honest. Results prayer keeps attention glued to effects. The check, the diagnosis, the phone call, the ring on the finger, the approval letter, the mystical sensation. We stare at the surface, we feverishly count outcomes, and we call that faith. It is not faith. It is fear with scripture on its lips. It is the human mind trying to get supply from outside itself, trying to draw life from effects, as if effects were the source. Now tell me, what does infinity need to be talked into? Nothing. Nothing. What would the fullness that fills all in all be withholding? Nothing. If God is presence, if God is the life of your life, who is there to persuade, and what is there to add? Since I am one with my source, nothing can be added to me. All that the Father hath is mine. Already mine. Don't forget this. We have been quoting it all our lives without hearing it. The plea is unnecessary because the source is not outside with a lock. The source is within, as the life that is already your life. So we are not scolded. We are awakened. We are not told to stop caring about money or health or relationships. We are told to stop trying to haul them in from the outside by pressure. We are invited to turn from getting to realizing, from begging to yielding, from noise to communion, so that what is already ours in God may appear as harmony without our pleading for it. Now you come to a law, an operational premise, not a philosophy, not a hope. There are no detached outer effects. All flows forth from consciousness. Don't rush by that. Let it stand in you a moment. There are no detached outer effects. Every sight on the screen has a projector behind it. Every figure in the ledger is a reflection of an unseen belief. Every tone in the room is set by an inner tuning fork. If that is the law, and it is, then results-chasing prayer is like fussing with the picture while ignoring the projector. You can smudge, you can press, you can even tape a patch over a dark spot, and for a minute it looks different. But the film, the light, the focus, unchanged. The next frame will write itself right back onto the screen. All right, Look at how we live. A headache? We go to the medicine cabinet as if bottles were causes. Sometimes the pain eases. But if fear remains, if anxiety is the fabric of our inner climate, what have we done? We have patched the picture. We have not addressed the projector. A low balance? We run to the bank account, transfer, borrow, juggle. For an hour the numbers breathe. But if the sense of lack, the conviction I am separate from my source, if that lies there unhealed, the columns will tell the tale again next month. Reputation a little frayed? We call, we explain, we massage the story. If the need to be approved, getting, still governs the heart, the next conversation will reprint the same nervous ink. Rent due? We scramble, overtime, another deal hurried, one more promise made. If fear is the god of the house, the landlord changes faces, but the god remains. Business deals? We shake hands, we press, we undercut, we hedge. If competition is the atmosphere we breathe, the figures will mirror it. Win or lose, the inner poverty prints itself. Family tension? We rehearse the right words. We apologize with our lips. But if resentment is the inner law, holidays will bring the same weather. Do you see? Results prayer treats effects as causes. It argues with the photograph and leaves the negative untouched. Now this is not condemnation. No. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. We were trained at the cabinet, at the ledger, on the telephone, in the meeting. We are not blaming persons. We are correcting a method. We are saying gently but firmly, that approach cannot reach the root, because the root is consciousness. To him that hath shall be given. Why? Because having is an inner state. It is the consciousness of oneness. Seek not what ye shall eat. Why? Because looking out there misses the source that is here. I and the Father are one. One life, one law, one supply, at the center of your being. Since I am one with my source, nothing can be added to me, and nothing essential can be taken from me. Effects, money, health, reputation, events, are the shadows of that realized or unrealized oneness. There are no detached outer effects. The moment fear of externals dissolves, externals lose their power to wound. The instant the sense of separation eases, supply finds its natural channels. When love, not demand, becomes the climate, family speech softens without a campaign. Why? Not because we pushed the pieces, because the projector changed. Consciousness is cause. The body, the bank, the business, the calendar, the home are the screen. Therefore prayer, if it is to be prayer, must work where causes live. Not pleading with weather on the screen, but returning to the light itself. Not, give me that, but reveal thyself as my life. Not managing events, but consenting to presence until the inner tone is peace, and then letting the forms tell their own story. In a moment, we will take up how to do that, how to move from speaking to listening. For now, fix this law in you. If consciousness is the cause, then prayer must address consciousness. That is the only way off the surface. That is the end of chasing results and the beginning of harmony appearing by law. Now we turn the key, and it is a simple key. God is the source of my being and the infinity of my being. Therefore nothing can be added to me. Nothing. Nothing. If the source of all is the life of you, what increase could come from outside? If infinity is the measure of your being in God, What deficit could a figure on a paper prove? Seek not what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink. Your Father knoweth. That is not poetry. That is law. All that the Father hath is mine. Not shall be. Mine. Already mine. Present tense realization, not future tense hope. Now let us for a minute accept that statement. If it is law, then prayer is not the act of informing omniscience about shortages. Prayer is not a news bulletin sent up to heaven. Prayer is communion, consenting to the already present reality until the sense of need dissolves back into the truth of sufficiency. Do you see the shift? From give me to reveal thyself. Give me assumes absence and pleads for delivery. Reveal thyself assumes presence and yields to appearing. Give me stares at effects as if they were sources. Reveal thyself rests in cause and lets forms arrange by law. In the old way, we recite a list to God as if God had forgotten, as if love required our reminders to be love. In communion, we become still and agree with the fact, Father, Thou art the source and the fullness within me. Bring to my awareness Thyself as my life. We do not tell, we consent. We do not push, we yield. All right, I can hear the mind. But I still have bills. I still have symptoms. I still have problems in the home. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. We have been trained to bow to appearances and call them powers. We post their notices on the inner wall and salute. Now hear me gently but firmly. We can stop worshiping the appearance as power. We can respect the picture without giving it divinity. We can say, yes, you are on the screen, but you are not cause. I turn to cause. And in that turn, in that quiet inward turn, the authority shifts. The fear begins to melt. The compulsion to fix begins to soften. Why? Because we are back at the source, and the source is not frightened by its own shadows. Your Father knoweth. Think what that means. Before you speak, before a desire arranges itself into words, the knowing is present as the life within you. So communion is not trying to make God aware. Communion is resting until you are aware of God. And when that awareness dawns, sometimes as a warmth, sometimes as a softening in the chest, sometimes as a breath that deepens by itself, sometimes as nothing but a great quiet, the argument stops. The still small voice does not always speak in sentences. Often it speaks as peace. That peace is the substance of supply. That peace is the law of health. That peace is the atmosphere in which right relationship reveals itself. We are after that felt contact, not sensation for its own sake, not spiritual fireworks, but the simple inner assurance, the hush that says without words, I am. In that hush, the need relaxes because the sense of the source is present. Then, by a law older than any of our efforts, outer forms begin to harmonize. The check comes, or the idea comes, or the unnecessary expense dissolves, or the courage to tell the truth appears, or the appetite for war with a loved one loses its flavor. We did not get, we realized. We did not move God, we yielded to God. And because God is the source of my being and the infinity of my being, nothing needed to be added, only revealed. Now your first reaction is, but I don't know enough truth. I don't have a long enough prayer. I can't remember all the statements. That's not true. That isn't true of anyone within range of my voice. One truth is enough. 1. Truth cannot be multiplied, and it cannot be divided. Why? Truth is one. One statement of truth properly realized contains all the truth there is in the world, because it carries you to the one from which all statements flow. When did 2 times 2 begin to be 4? It never began. It always is. So it is with I and the Father are one. So it is with Thy presence is here. So it is with all that the Father hath is mine. These are not charms, these are doorways. Not quantities to collect, doorways to enter. Now let us accept that. If you had 99 statements and you did not enter, you would still be outside, wouldn't you? And if you had one and entered, you would be in. Do you see the difference? Prayer is not arithmetic, it is yielding. Not the piling up of clauses, but the surrender of self-argument into awareness of presence. So take one truth, choose it now, mark it inside you. I and the Father are one. Or if your heart warms to it, Thy presence is here. Or if supply has been your fear, all that the Father hath is mine. 1. Plant your foot there. How do you use it? Not as leverage to pry open outcomes. Not as an incantation to force a result. No. Use it as a key to stillness. Whisper it inwardly, once, twice. Then let it rest in you like a stone in a quiet pool. Do not beat the water. Do not shake the gate. Rest the phrase until the phrase begins to rest you. In a minute you will notice that the words want to fade into a sense. Allow that. Let the statement thin into awareness, into the hush that says, without speech, it is so. If the mind breaks in with, but the bill, but the pain, but the child, do not wrestle. A human being can't help that. Recognize it, nod at it as weather, and return to the one truth. Not fighting, returning. Not pushing, consenting. Don't forget this. We have been quoting these lines all our lives without entering them. I and the Father are one. That is not a sentence in a book. It is a place to live. Thy presence is here. That is not comfort music. It is the reality of this room, the life within your breath. All that the Father hath is mine. That is not future inheritance. It is present law, the very fabric of your being. Repeat gently until repetition gives way to realization. And when the hush comes, even for a breath, stop. Listen. Let the presence be itself without your help. All right. In that stillness, the outer will begin to harmonize by law, because consciousness is cause. We will speak next about the argument that rises when you begin to practice. The mind will object. It will bargain. It will frighten. So you must know how to see it and let it go. For now, hold to this. You do not need many prayers. You need one truth realized as living awareness. Enter by one door and you are in the house. Now the moment you take one truth and grow quiet, the human mind will come to the microphone and it will object. It will say, this won't pay the rent. It will say, this is denial. It will say, I need a miracle right now. It will quote a proverb at you. God helps those who help themselves. And by that it will mean, get up, scramble, press, call everyone you know, and don't you dare sit still. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. The trading mind believes only in hustle and threat. It lives on the surface. It is nourished by outcomes. Do not hate it. Do not be frightened by it. Recognize it for what it is. Humanness seeking to get. The old habit of treating effects as causes. Now learn the difference between the arguing mind and guidance. The arguing mind is anxious. It is repetitive. It is urgent. It speaks in what if, hurry up, or else, and it always points to the screen. The still small voice is quiet. It is simple. It never pressures. It speaks once, or it does not speak at all. And its silence is peace. It does not flog you toward a deadline. It rests you into clarity. And after that rest, there may come a clear, unforced direction. Call him now, or wait, or tell the truth, or nothing but a settled heart. Remember, guidance comes without fear. Noise comes with demand. All right, here is the move, and it is the whole move. Do not wrestle with thoughts. We do not argue against argument. We do not try to outshout fear with louder statements. No, no. We recognize the voice. Ah, yes, the old getting mind. And we answer it without heat. Thank you. Now be still. Say that to your own thinking. Thank you. Now be still. And then return to presence. Return where? To your one truth, softly. I and the Father are one. Or, thy presence is here. And then let even that thin into hush. Add this phrase if you like, to settle the motive. I am not trying to change conditions. I am yielding to reality. That breaks the spell of getting. That releases the argument from its job. Now you will say, but it comes back. Of course it does. A human being can't help that. When it returns, you do the same little thing again. Recognize, bless, release, return. 70 times 7, without strain. We are not suppressing thought. We are depriving it of worship. We are not denying appearances. We are denying them divinity. We are saying, you are the picture. You are not the projector. And we are turning inward to cause. Don't forget this. There are no detached outer effects. When you stop fueling turbulence with debate, the inner air clears, and under that climate, decisions appear that are honest, timely, and free. And as for God helps those who help themselves, hear it anew. God, as the very life within you, is the help. Communion reveals the form that help will take today. Sometimes quiet waiting, sometimes straightforward work, sometimes a phone call, sometimes a relinquishment. And because it comes from peace, it bears fruit without the aftertaste of fear. We are not choosing idleness. We are choosing source before action. First presence, then step. All right? When the debate grows quiet, even for a minute, we are in position for real prayer. The movement from speaking at God to listening in God. In our next step, I will show you how to rest for 3 minutes in that listening, so that guidance, or peace without words, may have the floor. All right, let us do it together, right here. Now let us for a minute accept this. God is. Therefore, I can be still. Not will be, now. God is. That one premise settles the motive. We are not reaching outward, we are consenting inward. Sit as you are. No posture earns God. Hands easy, breath natural. God is, therefore, I can be still. Step 1. 30 seconds, a minute. Gentle acknowledgement, no petition, no request. Father, thou art here. Say it inwardly. Or, if your heart warms to it, only thy presence is. Not many words, just this. We are not informing God. We are letting the mind hear what is true. Father, thou art here. Pause. Let the phrase bloom and then rest. If thought interrupts, what about the bill? Smile at it. Thank you. Now be still. Return. Only thy presence is. Let even that grow soft. We are not trying to change conditions. We are yielding to reality. Step 2. Now we sink beneath words. Another minute, perhaps a little more. Feel the difference between mental strain and inner receptivity. Strain is tight, forward, urgent. Receptivity is open, quiet, at ease. Let silence do the work. If you must have a sentence, let it be no sentence at all, only the felt sense. Here. Here. Breathing comes and goes without your command. Let awareness be like that, coming, going, steady underneath. If the mind knocks, we do not fight. We recognize, release, return. Step 3. 60 seconds of listening without reaching. We are not scanning for messages. We are not measuring our depth. We are not grading the silence. We are simply available, like an open window that does not fetch the breeze, yet the breeze comes. Listen in God, not at God. If there is a word, it will be simple and unforced. If there is no word, peace is the word. Do not reach for the screen. Rest in the projector. No detached outer effects. Cause is here, and we are consenting to cause. Step 4. Close with gratitude as recognition, not transaction. Whisper inwardly, thank you. And by that you mean, I have touched what is real, or it has touched me. Not, thank you, now do this. No. Only, thank you. Rest the Amen as a quiet bow of the heart. What is success? Do not look for fireworks. Often it is a softening in the brow, a breath that goes all the way down, a small release of pressure as if someone took their hand off your back, a quiet conviction with no words, a fear one shade lighter. That is communion beginning to register in consciousness. And because consciousness is cause, that peace will tell its story on the screen. Now take this 3-minute communion and carry it to the very places where you have been praying for results. Money, health, relationships. Not to beg, but to abide. In a moment we will apply it there and watch how harmony appears by law when the getting mind is silent and presence has the floor. All right, let's take it to where the heart tightens. Money. The old prayer says, send me more. The communion prayer says, reveal supply as thyself. Not supply somewhere, supply as presence, here. So you sit with the ledger open, the due date staring, and before the scramble, before the phone tree, you go to cause. Father, thou art here. All that the Father hath is mine. Let the urgency announce itself. Hurry! And answer, thank you, now be still. Then listen. We are not waiting for a check to fall through the ceiling. We are letting fear ease so that right activity appears without strain or dishonesty. And it will. Sometimes it is a simple, clean action. Cancel that expense. Tell the truth to the client. Finish the proposal without embroidery. Make the call you have been postponing. Sometimes it is quiet restraint. Do not undercut your brother. Do not bait the hook with promises you cannot keep. Do not chase. Cast your bread. When action rises from peace, the phone rings differently. The meeting breathes. The figure lines up by law, because there are no detached outer effects. Now health. The human habit is to scan the body for trouble and then pray, remove this, push that away. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. But hear the law. No power in externals. Not germ, not weather, not organ, not number. There is only one power, and that is the presence that is the life of your life. So when a symptom speaks, pain, report, shadow on a screen, do not worship it. Respect it as a picture. Refuse it divinity. Return to cause. I and the Father are one. Thy life is my life. Let fear dissolve first. Often the relief begins not by sensation vanishing, but by the heart ceasing to tremble. That peace is already health at the root. From that peace you will know. Call the doctor, rest, walk, change the food, forgive the memory. Whatever it is, it will come without panic, without the inner scream, and it will bear fruit more surely than frightened manipulation, because the projector, not the frame, has shifted. Now relationships. The old way is control prayer. Change them, teach them a lesson, make them see. That is getting. That is warfare dressed as piety. Communion replaces it with, reveal thyself here as love. Sit before the conversation, the dinner table, the doorway where tension lives, and yield. Only thy presence is. Let the need to win soften. Let the need to be right retire. Listen. You may be given one honest sentence to speak, or silence and a hug, or a willingness to apologize without adding, but you. As consciousness softens, faces soften. The same words in a new climate say something new. Why? There are no detached outer effects. When love is the atmosphere, the house breathes. Beware the bargain. If I do this practice, then you must. No. That is the old trader wearing a robe. We are not purchasing outcomes. We are consenting to reality. And because reality is sufficiency, guidance, love, it overflows. It cannot help but overflow. Which is why this is not a private escape. Communion is the end of grasping and the beginning of giving. You find yourself paying promptly, forgiving quickly, telling the truth even when it costs, blessing competitors, ceasing to scheme, refusing to injure with your tongue. From getting to giving. From fear to non-competition. From pleading to presence. That is how harmony appears, by law, when the getting mind is silent and God has the floor. Now what is the test? How do you know prayer has crossed from words into communion? Not by gooseflesh, not by a flash of light. The test is very simple and very practical. The fist opens. The impulse is to give. Patience first, honesty next. Service, forgiveness, quiet blessing. Without calculating returns, without the bookkeeper standing behind your eyes. Results prayer tightens the fist. Hold on, get more, secure yourself. Communion opens the hand. Cast your bread upon the waters. Not as strategy, as nature, as function. All right. Watch the micro movements of a day. You find yourself making a phone call not to win but to reconcile. I spoke sharply, forgive me. No bargain hidden in it. You slip an envelope to a name that came to you in the silence. No announcement, no receipt, no trumpet. In business, you take the clean line. You tell the truth even when the deal might thin. You refuse to shade. You pay promptly though no one is pressing. At home you let the last word go by untouched. You bless the offender under your breath. You lay a quiet hand on the shoulder that has been cold to you. And you do these things not because a rule said, be nice. No, no. You do them because the sense of inner supply is felt. God is the source of my being, and the infinity of my being. So nothing can be added to me by withholding, and nothing essential can be taken from me by giving. Since I am one with my source, I am safe to pour. Now don't call this moralism. This is not a set of behaviors we adopt to look spiritual. This is spiritual function. A branch does not calculate whether to give shade. It abides in the life of the tree, and shade appears. To him that hath shall be given. Why? Because having is consciousness. When the awareness of presence is the wealth within, generosity is not a cost. It is overflow. I am only rich in proportion as I can give, not in proportion as I can get. And you will discover a paradox. The more you cast, the more returns, unplanned, unexpected, untraceable, find you. Not wages, law. My own shall come to me. Not because you hunted it, but because you stopped clutching. Now the objection will rise. But I must protect myself. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. Hear me gently. Protection is not hoarding. Protection is living in the consciousness of presence. You can say no without clause. You can set a boundary without poison. You can walk away from a dishonest bargain without hatred. Innocency is a wall no weapon can breach. Fear of loss is the breach, and hoarding widens it. Live in the awareness, only thy presence is, and then act plainly, cleanly, firmly when action is given. That atmosphere, fearless and without malice, is protection. Don't forget this. There are no detached outer effects. If the inner climate has become non-competitive generosity, something begins to happen in the office, in the home, on the street. The air lightens. Friction loses fuel. Even those who wish to quarrel tire of the absence of resistance. And that does not end with you. Consciousness is causal. The love you embody moves in circles you do not see. We who are sitting here now, consenting to give instead of get, are altering more than our grocery bills. We are loosening the knot of fear and hate in the collective. In a moment, we will face that world and speak of nonviolence not as a tactic, but as a law. For now, examine your day by one measure. Has the hand opened? If so, prayer has passed into communion, and communion is living you. If not, do not scold. Return. Be still, and let the source remind you that you cannot impoverish infinity by giving. You can only prove it. Now we widen the circle. If there are no detached outer effects, then fear and aggression are not events that happen out there. They are states of consciousness made visible. A battlefield begins as a heartbeat. A riot begins as a thought. The weapon is fashioned first in the imagination and in the story we tell ourselves about enemies and survival. If consciousness is cause, then communion is not only the answer to personal lack. Communion is the antidote to collective violence, because it dissolves the fear and hate content at the root. Nonviolence is not sentiment. It is not softness. It is spiritual law. Resist not evil does not mean lie down before evil. It means do not confer power upon it by fear and hatred. Do you see? The moment you withhold hate, the chain breaks in you. And when it breaks in you, you have withdrawn your electric contribution to the field of conflict. That is law. Now the mind will say, but what if they attack? What if they do wrong? What if they lie? A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. The ego must win, must get even, must be right. Hear me gently but firmly. We are not asked to sanction wrong. We are asked to refuse to hate. We can speak truth without venom. We can draw a firm line without the inner scream. We can deny cooperation to injustice without the lust to humiliate. Take my life, but I won't take yours, is not theater. It is an inner posture. It means, I will surrender reputation before I surrender love. I will let money go before I poison my heart. I will accept misunderstanding before I enlist in the campaign to destroy. That innocence, yes, innocence, is a wall no weapon can breach. Daniel, in him, innocency was found. That is why the lions could not. That is why. All right, bring it home. In the house. When the voice rises across the table, your first motion is not to win, it is to yield inwardly. Only thy presence is. Then speak, if you must speak, from that quiet. At work. When a colleague angles for credit, the old heat says, strike back. But you pause, you return to source, and your action, file the report cleanly, speak to the supervisor without slander, bless the colleague in secret, comes free of bile, and it has power, because peace is a power. Online. Before you send that clever wound, stop. Thank you. Now be still. Refuse to kill with the finger. You will not feed the field with rage. And do not think that is passivity. Peace is not passive. Peace directs. Peace says march. Peace says write the letter. Peace says stand here and say no. But it removes the poison so that action is surgery, not stabbing. Don't forget this. There are no detached outer effects. If even a few within range of my voice would take this vow in the secrecy of their own being, I will not hate you to save my life. I will not fear you to guard my comfort. Inside of 30, 60, 90 days, a tone would begin to shift in the circles around you. Quiet reconciliations. Quarrels that refuse to ignite. Policies that appear as if by their own accord. Why? A law has been set in motion, and law is impersonal. Greater is he that is within you than he that is in the world. When the inner greater is given the floor, the outer lesser loses its theater. Now you see what we have truly been praying for all along. Not for outcomes, not for victories, not for proofs to soothe the ego. We have been praying, though we did not know the name, for the realization of the Christ consciousness. A state that does not fear or hate externals, that rests in source, that gives because it is full, that acts because it is moved, that refuses to harm because it knows there is only one. When that is realized, even in measure, war finds no recruit in you, and your quiet becomes contagion. In a moment, we will close with a treatment, not asking for anything, but abiding until the presence is the very consciousness with which we live and move and have our being. All right. Now let us finish where true prayer begins. Hear this plainly and let it stand. Prayer is not asking God to enter a situation. Prayer is the recognition that God is the only presence in it already. Not more presence later, presence now. In the sick room, not disease and God, God. In the meeting, not conflict and God, God. In your bank account, not lack and God, God. The human mind protests, but I can see the problem. A human being can't help that. A human being can't help that. We are not asked to deny pictures. We are asked to deny them divinity and to acknowledge the one presence at the root. That acknowledgement is communion. Now the practice. Simple, brief, repeatable. 3 minutes, several times a day. Morning before you reach for the world. Midday when the thread frays. Night when the story of the day tries to stick to you. And especially when you feel the clutch to bargain, the spike of panic, the urge to control. In that very instant, step out of the auction and into the sanctuary. Whisper inwardly, "Thank you. Now be still." Then take the one-sentence treatment and let it rest you. Thy presence is here, therefore I can be still. Once, twice. Then listen. Do not add, "And please do this." No, no. Thy presence is here, therefore I can be still. Let the words thin into a felt hush. If thought knocks, nod to it. Thank you. Now be still. And return. Go home and do this in the secrecy of your own being. If necessary, sit up tonight and practice yielding until you feel the inner shift. Not fireworks, a soft easing, a breath that finds the bottom, a fear one shade lighter. In that degree, you have touched reality. Or rather, reality has touched you. Don't forget this. There are no detached outer effects. As consciousness settles into presence, the outer picture begins to align by law. You will not need to pry. You will not need to strain. Guidance will come without pressure. Action will appear without bile. Supply will show as right activity. Healing will begin as fear dissolves. Carry your treatment like a lamp you can light in any room. Thy presence is here, therefore I can be still. Before the phone call, at the doorway, in the doctor's office, at the register, in traffic, at the keyboard just before you send the sentence that stings. Stop, light the lamp, be still. Do this not once, not twice, but as a way of breathing. Yes, yes. The quiet secret is to stop asking for results and to practice communion until the presence becomes your consciousness. In the degree that you touch this, fear lessens, the need to get relaxes, the hand opens, and by that same law, the outer adjusts. Abide. Listen. Let the presence live you.